Diolch, Emily.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Catherine. And Prynhawn da. Today we're just going to be talking about the literacy interventions that we do here in Maindee Primary School. I'm not sure if many of you know, but we are a big primary school in Newport, and I can talk a little bit about our makeup in a moment. But we do have a big need for lots of various literacy interventions. So hopefully by the end of the session, you'll have a good understanding of the interventions that we use across our school, right down from early years up to year 6, and how we effectively support the pupils using these to make progress in our identified literacy skills. So to start with, like many of you, obviously we do lots of research, and we all know, I'm singing to the choir when I say that we all know the importance of rich literacy experiences, and this comes into our why at Maindee. So one profound piece of research that we found, by the age of 3, children from privileged families, they hear 30 million more words than children from underprivileged backgrounds. And at Maindee, we do have a cohort of children that are from the underprivileged backgrounds. So we know that we need to put lots of steps in place to bring them back up to a level like playing field as such, because our starting points are so low. So we know that in cases, in areas of deprivation, 50% of children start school with language skills that are below the national average. But we know that an RSC-rich approach to vocab development can accelerate pupils' progress in reading, makes them more confident, sharing ideas, all of that talking, listening, sharing, collaboration. And when children are prompted or invited or enabled or encouraged to do so, their progress is obviously accelerated. We talk about RSC a lot at Maindee because we know that the importance of the RSC needs to come before the reading and the writing. So a lot of these interventions that I'm going to talk about today are very RSC driven. This is a really interesting and useful book that we've shared amongst colleagues in our school. It talks about the language gap. So it talks about, if obviously that you don't do anything, early language delays can lead into persistent literacy and numeracy difficulties. Then there's progressive disengagement, and then academic failure and exclusions in secondary schools, things like that. And obviously I think lots of the people in this presentation are aware of all of those difficulties already. So if that's something that you are able to get your hands on, you can buy it on Amazon. It's really powerful sort of book that I just wanted to pop in just to share, because it has got a lot of research in there and lots of areas to reflect on and things. And it talks about high quality teaching, building strong supportive teachers, pupil relationships, RSC, collaborative learning. So that's something that we have looked at as staff in Maindee, and it has helped us a lot with our practice and with our literacy intervention. So a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today has come from this book. For example, when acquiring language, is sort of the case of this. Imagine if when children are learning words, all the words that they know when they start school. For some children, there'll be lots of words that they already have, they've already acquired, with lots of links between them, like a strong football net. But and then when an adult explains a new word to them, when they're learning new vocab, the net can catch it because they've got the links already made all around. But then for other children who come to school with just a few words in their net, where the words aren't well connected and don't have context and things, it makes it more difficult. And so the football net with lots of holes in it, it goes straight through the holes when they're learning new vocabs. So vocabulary is not easily picked up from one-off adult interactions, and it does have to be explicitly taught in a sustained way with regular recap and regular review, and that's where our interventions come in. So just a little snapshot of Maindee Primary School. We are a community primary school, actually. We're quite a large school. We have, we're 2.5 form entry. We have approximately 520 pupils on roll, and we do have a large amount of pupil mobility. We're very transient. every year we have children leave and join us late in the year, and sometimes these children come in even into Key Stage 2 and they've never been to school before. Our free school meal percentage is on 24%, but we do know that our deprivation levels are much higher. We're 25% ALN and we are 92% multilingual. In our school, there are 47 languages, and this is a breakdown of the languages. And it just goes to show the why, our need for rich literacy interventions and literacy experiences throughout the school. Our starting points are just generally lower because of many reasons: parents' skills, parents' lack of access to services and resources, obviously the multilingual aspect. And we also know nowadays with the cost of living crisis, not only are parents in financial poverty, they also have time poverty as well. So we know that lots of our families, even if they're not multilingual, even if they're not in financial poverty, they don't always have time to have a bedtime story that we would traditionally think that would hope to happen. So we do know that we have a big need at Maindee. In my class alone, I have a mixed year 1 and 2 class. And just to give you a little bit more of a snapshot, that's the breakdown of my class. I have 14 languages in my class alone. That's just one class in the school. And there's the breakdown for it. So the need for rich literacy and just the teaching of all those oracy skills, it needs to be embedded whole class approach, not just in these interventions as well. So we'll also be talking about whole school approaches that we do follow that can take away then from the need for like an intervention group. So I'm hoping that will be helpful for you to hear about as well. So despite all our multilingual aspects to our school, Eston came in 2024 and they did say that our approach to multilingualism is aspirational. They say we fully embrace the diverse community, and we do put a big importance on celebrating home language and home languages of our friends as well. So that is something that Eston picked up on when they came to visit us in June 2024. So I'll take you back to the start of what we do to, first of all, identify those children who do need the intervention. So we have a stage of language development assessment that all children who are multilingual, so that means they're not English is not their first language, all teachers complete a profile on their children at the start of the year. We do one at the start of the year, and then round about now, actually, just before summer term. And it is really useful for class teachers. It's come from GEMS. It breaks down the skills of language development and language acquisition, and tells us sort of like the next steps where there may be gaps, and also provides teachers with context of the steps that they've come, the steps beforehand of where they've come from, and then helps us identify, is there a need for intervention? So here's a snapshot from my class, and this assessment follows the children up throughout the school. We'll have one document and it follows the children up. So because I have year 1, 2, we are within stage A for lots of the multilingual children, so that's new to language. So sorry, if I just go back again, there's stage A, new to language, stage B is early acquisition, stage C, developing competence, stage D, competent, and stage E, fluent. And it is something like, it takes a very long time to get through the stages. It takes something like 7 years to properly acquire a language. So this document has been passed up for this child. You can see their reception autumn orange, reception spring is green, and their year 1 autumn is in blue. So you can see that the progress is made. Sometimes it is slow. It looks like it's slow, but it does take a while to go from one stage to the next. But this has really helped us break down where the gaps are. So all class teachers use that for their children, because we know with spoken language that reading and writing floats on a sea of talk. And so at Maindee, we start all this right down in early years and in lower phase. We have so many interventions and so many whole school approaches that we use that helps plug those gaps. So sorry, I know I'm whistling through, talking quite fast, so please stop me, Catherine, if I'm going on a little bit, or I haven't explained anything fully. So I'll go through some of the interventions and how that happens in Maindee in early years and lower phase. So we have a lovely rhyme time session in nursery. So this is sort of a whole sort of class approach, but it is geared towards the groups. It's differentiated with the groups, and it's just lovely nursery rhymes. It's nursery rhyme time basically, and it's helping children with those acquiring of the spoken language, understanding what the words mean, attaching them to pictures, objects, things like that. This is
what is it? Cow! And what noise the cows make? Well done. And on that farm he had a cow. E-I-E-I-O. With a moo-moo here and a moo there. Here a moo, there a moo, everywhere a moo, moo, oh my.
Okay, here we go. So,
Great.
Yeah, it's there, the video's there. So rhyme time's really important. They try our best never to skip rhyme time, and it's just that consistent, and it's not a long period of time, but it's just a consistent, repetitive, and they might do a rhyme, the same few rhymes for weeks and weeks and weeks, just to help the children acquire that language. They do it in nursery and they do it in reception, and I have done it in the past in year 1. So I just wanted to show you this video of this little boy, and this is what we did. This is how he was at the start before I started like intervention with him.
Go. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had the fall. Oh, Dumpty contented of a drift man. Oh, could it be no one did nothing again?
Bless him. So you can see that's a perfect example of how he knows there's words there, but he doesn't know what the language is, and so he's just filling in the gaps with sounds. So we're really breaking it down, and providing like the context, giving him like there's resources online readily available. I think I just got puppets off of Twinkle at the time, but just knowing that it's the King's Men, and like really showing him what that means and breaking it down. And then it did take a couple of weeks. We did it every day for 2-3 weeks. I was going a little bit Humpty Dumpty mad, but then by the end,
Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty after the ball. Oh, Tintin's horses and holding his man. Could Humpty together again?
bless him. So there's not perfect, but that was so much better, and he had obviously like then the understanding of the vocabulary, and so it sounds really silly doing Humpty Dumpty in year 1, but that then has helped this child's now in year 3, I want to say, and he's reading like a PM 15, and so I like to think that the stuff we did, we plugged the gaps when it was down in lower phase, and it helped him as he progressed through the school. We hadn't just let him fall through the gap. So we do a lot of rhyme time in Maindee. We have at the bottom you can see these sort of QR codes that we can send home to parents to help parents like learn the nursery rhymes, because especially if they're multilingual, they might not know the rhymes in English. So if I just go back, sorry.
Go.
So we know there's a really big importance on nursery rhymes, which I'm sure you all do as well. But before that, we also do lots of tuning into sounds. So I'm not sure if you're aware of the letters and sounds documentation that the Department of Education put out in England quite a few years ago now. It is old school, but it is fantastic still. And it breaks down those pre-phonic skills into different aspects that the children need to have grasped before they're then ready for phonics. So it's things like environmental sound discrimination, and there's loads of videos like on YouTube even of guessing the household items. So it'll be a blank screen and it'll be like a washing machine, and the children have to guess what it is and just distinguishing those sounds, and they absolutely love playing those. And often even in year 1 in autumn term, we do have a group of phonics that are focusing on those type of skills. Then it moves on to the instrumental, so identifying sort of the musical instruments and body percussions. Can they repeat clapping, rhythms, beats, things like that? We have like a little body band going on during phonics time. And then it's obviously the rhythm and the rhyme, your nursery rhymes. There are loads of resources online that support with these that we found free to use. There's loads on Twinkle of just like the voice sounds and things. My children love this series that I found. We're just making silly noises. I drop my ice cream and they go, oh no, and it's just being silly, playing with sounds with our voices and things like making silly soup. You can make up the rules for silly soup. I tend to play silly soup before I've introduced the phonics card. So before I'm attaching sounds to the letters, we'll play silly soup. So almost like I Spy. I say I only can have things in my silly soup that begin with the letter A, but I don't even show the letter card A. We're just hearing it to start with. On the Letters and Sounds website, there are loads of videos and explanations about all of those that talk about that show going on sound walks. They are very old school, but we find that they work, and sometimes the old stuff is the best. So there's lots on there. That's Letters and Sounds. If you're not aware of that, there's loads of information on there. But so we do have a big importance on that before we put children into sets for phonics, before we start attaching the before we start introducing the letters, because they need to be able to hear it all first as well. And that example with this young boy, he wasn't hearing things there. So we do have a tracker for our tuning into sounds, like an assessment that we do just like you would with your reading tracker or your phonics tracker. We've broken it down into these 4 areas that we feel are really important, that we assess them on at certain points in the year. This is a snapshot of my class this year. So if you can see on the side, some children have been taken off because they're now ready for sounds. But even in my year 1-2 class, I do have some children who are still accessing that pre-phonics stuff, and but they are making the progress. So I'm due to assess them again soon, and I do think a few more then now will be ready for phonics. And I used to panic and think, oh my gosh, we're halfway through year 1 and we're not on ast yet. But unless we get this bit right beforehand, they won't be ready for it, and it'll be meaningless for them. So we do spend a lot of time on all of that at Maindee. Something else we do really well at Maindee is bucket therapy. So I'm not sure how much people are aware of bucket therapy. You might be really familiar, but I think it's fantastic. It is an attention autism program. It's highly engaging session that is designed to capture the attention and curiosity and communication skills of children. It focuses on those early fundamentals of language, and it's not just like the speaking and obviously the reading and writing, but talking about the awareness of others, focuses on attention, listening, shared attention, then switching attention and turn taking, because all of that is really needed before they can start reading and writing. So I do have another video to share of our lovely Mrs. Mooka, who does this in year 1, and she has demonstrated for us stages 1, 2, and 3. So stage 1 focuses just on adult-led activities, which includes like highly motivating toys. Stage 2 builds upon attention then, and stage 3 is with the interaction. So she's modeling turn taking and requiring the children to shift their attention from their self to the rest of the group. So I might skip a little bit because it is 6 minutes long, but I do want you to have a look at this video as well. So do let me know if it's playing okay.
First, we have...
Yeah, that's fine.
Good. We're going to have...
Just
so
skip it.
in my bucket... Let's see. Ooh. A green frog.
But really breaking down the language, being really clear and concise, describing it.
2. Oh. Let's see. Wine.
Narrating everything she does. So that's stage 1.
And a magic net. Wow. Red
Stage 2, she's building upon their attention because the toy's moving further, but they still have to sort of be engaged and stay where they are.
For the magic. 1, 2, 3. Wow!
It's just modelling that awe and wonder and that curiosity.
We ready? Pour.
This is also stage 2, just building their attention. So she's going pour, pour, pour. So she's just narrating everything she does, attaching vocab to everything.
I need your help now. I need you to give me some thumbs up when the snake is coming. Wait, dip, 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 dip. Again, big blow. Oh. Red, don't forget to give me thumbs up.
So they just love it. So that's stage 2 again. And then stage 3, then the children are required to interact. So it's turn taking, but then also shifting their attention, which is all part of acquiring their language skills.
Let me see. Oh, Ice, you come and lie down by here for me. Oh, good boy. Ooh,
And it looks
ready?
crazy, but these are all like ideas. There's loads of ideas for games and things, activities you can do during Bucket online.
Wake up, little old Ice. Wake up, little old Ice. Time for school. Time for school.
So then she's introducing rhyme there then. So the idea is that the more that the children then do this session with her, they can then join in. So it's all that, all those earlier literacy skills. Moving on, then we also follow. We also have. We do COMET interventions as well, which is, it stands for Communication Intervention Team. It's a school-based service in South East Wales that we've sort of adapted. It supports children with speech, language and communication needs, but we've identified those children internally and we carry it out internally. And we sort of adapted it to the needs of our children. But it does partner with an Iron Bevan, the University Health Board, which provides advisory teachers and speech therapists and specialists to identify, assess and support learners. So we do start by doing a baseline, and it is talking about all those early literacy skills, so attention and listening. Can they sit still and listen to a story? Going on to understanding. Can they follow simple instructions with 3 key words? And we baseline the children before intervention and then again after intervention. But what's good about this is a whole school approach with the COMET visual cards as well. So even up to year 6, we refer to these, the good looking, the good listening, just for modelling how to have good listening and attention. So when children even come up new to school in Key Stage 2, it's a whole school approach. They're familiar with these visuals. And then there's weekly sessions, ideas online, and it's all just designed to develop those early literacy skills with learners. And they'll be doing things like playing games, a fruit salad game. Each child is given a picture of piece of fruit, and they need to stand up, sit down. So it's all tuning into their listen and attention, which feeds into their early literacy skills. So these are online, I think. They are available for people to use as and when. So that is another intervention that we use that is highly effective throughout the school. I am aware that they do also do that in Key Stage 2, I think, as well, for children who just are early on in their literacy journey. And then I'm not sure how familiar people might be with Precision, but Precision again is a whole school intervention that is done throughout all the year groups. Precision teaching, it's a structured teaching method that's designed to improve accuracy and fluency. So you can use it for spelling, you can use it for reading of high frequency words, you can use it for phonics, letter recognition, you can even use it for maths skills. So the main goal is to target and improve those specific skills that have been identified with this intervention. So the idea behind Precision is that it's short and sweet, like fast and often. We have children for a minute at a time. Obviously there's the logistics of getting the children sat down with you, but the idea is that you're in a quiet space and it's just short and fast for a minute at a time, and they're identified with this child in year 2 has been identified with which high frequency words they're not really retaining, and so they're just on the sheet in a different order, and the children just read along the line. It does work. I used to be really adverse to it. I used to think, oh no, it's too dry, it's too boring. But it's a minute at a time, and actually when the children can see themselves improving and making progress, they do actually really enjoy it. This child started this new set last week, and we allow the children to colour in the tracker so they can see themselves, their errors and their improvements. So it's really motivating for them. It is carried out one-to-one basis, like I said. Online, it recommends that you don't do it any longer than 10 minutes. We literally do a minute at a time with the child. We put the timer on the iPad so the children know they've got a minute. They've got to say read however many words they can in a minute, and they love it, that little bit of competition. It's designed to get the learners to think quickly until they're able to have like just quick recall, and becomes almost instinctive. It's fast-paced and repetitive, and we help the children with this so that they then become confident and fluent, and then they only move on to new words once they've mastered these ones. So that's another highly effective intervention that we use in Maindee, and it is used throughout the school. Another intervention that we do run is for speech and language. We have found that we are having to plug gaps a lot more. I'm not sure if it's the same case in other schools, but we feel like services are kind of almost taken a step back. They seem to require a lot more from us, first of all, from schools, to then take children on. I had it this week. I wanted to refer a child for speech and language, and I was questioned, have you done this with them? Have you done this with them? So Mr. Tongue is an easy one that we can pick up and say that we have done internally before we refer them externally for things like speech and language. All these slides are online ready, available if you just search Mr. Tongue, and it focuses on the movements of your mouth and your lips and your tongues when you're speaking. So it is for children who do have a speech and language difficulty. It's a set of exercises essentially for your lips, your tongue and your mouth, but it is a story, and the children really enjoy it. You do kind of have to sometimes be prepared to take a step back so that you're not sprayed in spit. But the children have to do things like poke their tongue out, they have to wash the windows, wash your tongue across the teeth, and it helps children become aware of the different parts of their mouth, including obviously their teeth, tongue and lips, which helps them to develop the movements for speech. So we have a couple of children identified across our year group that go every morning just for 5 minutes to go through the Mr. Tongue story, and they love looking at themselves in the mirror doing it, and we have seen that it has helped. And then if we still feel like there's a need for speech and language intervention externally, then we can, when we apply for help for those children, we can say we've done this internally, and they tend to like it if we've been seen to do things in-house first of all. So once children then are ready, they've done all that pre-phonics work, once they come to the phonemic awareness stage and they're ready for phonics, we might have a read, write, ink intervention group that looks like this. These are for children that this is for children that we think are not quite progressing as everyone else is, just from phonics groups alone. And this focuses, this was a group of just 6 children that we identified across 2 classes, that we kind of followed the read writing order, used the read writing cards, but we made it our own. We made it Maindee, because we made it really sensory. We had songs involved. We got the children to draw pictures. We got mirrors out again as well and got them to look at themselves, making the sounds and things like that. That's just a little bit extra to plug gaps for children who, in their daily phonics groups, we weren't finding they were retaining it or making the progress. We pulled these children out, and this is on top of, in addition to, and we just made it really sensory and really like engaging. And obviously, like in a small group, it is easier to sort of grasp their attention. And you don't have to obviously evidence it like this, but we like to see it mapped across in a book and just stored in that journal. So that's nice for that. Then the children like to look through it as well. So that is another sort of intervention that we would run throughout the lower phase classes. We've had the last couple of years a really big focus on BSL as well, and we have found that has also helped children with their literacy skills. So again, this isn't an intervention as such as it is done whole class. We now are required to do a discrete session, 2 discrete teachings of BSL, 2 sessions a week in our classes, and this is how we plan it. We'll have like the warm up, and we pull across from the LNF framework and the progression steps. But we have created placemats that the children love to use, and we do have BSL clubs. We have a lower phase BSL club and a upper phase BSL club, and the upper phase BSL children have put together these videos of how to talk about your family, how to talk about feelings and things like that. And that is something that we have found has really helped. The children have loved learning the finger spellings of words, and we have found that has really helped with their literacy skills as well. Again, this isn't a intervention as such, but it is sort of like a whole school approach with Talk for Writing. I'm not sure how aware everybody is with Pi Corbett, probably you know of him, but it's just a way of giving that awe and wonder and having that hands-on experience and building up vocab and providing context, because we obviously find with our children we need to do the things first before we can talk about it and write it. So this little girl, this was this year actually, she's one of my less able children, but she confidently was able to retell the whole recipe of how to make bread all by herself after having learning the actions and after having like the repeated going through it over and over and over and over again. And we do a lot of our literacy is not just writing in books. Our SLT are quite understanding of sometimes a focus task might look like just orally sequencing some events, and that's our literacy, because then maybe the next session then they will start to write it. Going back to the slide that we said at the start about writing floats on a sea of talking. So Widget is also a really, really good resource that we use, and we were able to make this with Widget. These are all the teachers, and we've got the Pi Corbett signs for the time connectives, and so all the children then know the first, next, after that, and that does really help them with their literacy. This was in reception in autumn term. They learnt the traditional tale. They had acted it out, they sequenced it, and then they innovated it. So because the children have done it, they planted the seed, and then we had the teachers reenacting, pulling the enormous pumpkin out. The children absolutely loved it, and then they could all retell the story themselves. So that is another whole school approach that we do use, and we have found is really effective. And then again, as you probably do in your schools as well, our hook for writing is we really place a huge importance on. We recently had with our topic on the lead up to St. David's Day, all about dragons. So we just had a delivery in our classroom. The children were like, "Oh my goodness, what has what has been delivered to our classroom, and it really inspired real awe and wonder. The children became detectives. That was actually my footprint, but they thought it was the footprint of someone who had left the chest in our classroom. But the independent writing and the writing for purpose from that, and the discussion and the vocab that they came out of. One of my multilingual children, who doesn't really say a lot, she was going, "It's so mysterious," and I was like, "Wow, how have you learnt that word?" And it was just fantastic. And I don't think I've ever had so many independent writers. This was when they had to write letters to who it was, like, who are you, taught about question marks, and then we wrote rules when we discovered it was actually a dragon. And it was just really engaging for them, and it was quite simple and easy to set up, and it was just lovely to see the children's engagement. And again, that is another whole school approach that we do use with our writing topics. We do have a massive multisensory engaging hook, just to give the children some context as well, to build up their vocab and their engagement levels, really. So in upper phase, they also do a lot of interventions. The main intervention I wanted to talk about today with upper phase is our fantastic language acquisition class. Now, I do think this is quite special to Maindee. This might be something that the other things I've talked about you might be aware of already, but this is something that was originally set up in 2016 in a response to our changing cohort. Excuse me, I've just lost my notes on it. So in 2016, our language acquisition was set up in upper phase because of the changing needs of the school. We had a lot of Eastern European children joining the school, and they were the majority of them were sort of third generation. And it is heavily, Key Stage 2 is quite strict with their timetabling, just because of language acquisition. So children in years 3, 4, 5 and 6, if they have been identified that they need help with language acquisition during their class's literacy slot, they don't take part in whole class literacy. They go to language acquisition class, but it's just one lady who runs it. So she has all the classes throughout the morning. And there may be the children that are multilingual but are maybe not making as much progress with their language acquisition. So they would have been identified through the stage of language assessments that I talked about at the start. And in language acquisition, they'll follow the same sort of topic that the main class is doing, but they'll really break it down, and their speed of learning is a little bit slower because it's really immersive in their language, and it just slows it down for them so that they can retain the knowledge and they can retain the vocab. So in autumn 2, they start by immersing the children in grammar. So Noun Town is something we started doing this year because we've had oracy training from Helen Bowen. I'm not sure if any of the other schools are aware of Helen Bowen, but she's been fantastic. She's come in and delivered some training for a whole school oracy approach, and she talks about the importance of acquiring grammar skills, all part of those literacy and the language acquisition. So Noun Town is something that the children just absolutely love doing, and they literally just make some artwork of a town, but obviously all the things in the town, they're nouns. And then so now you can go down to language acquisition, and all those children who have been identified as they are like your lower ability children, they are like new to English, but they can tell you what a noun is. And Mrs. Fitzgerald, she's the lady who runs the language acquisition class. She's a HLTA, she's fantastic. She just really breaks down the skills. So the main class may be writing fact files, but she has taken that a lot slower. And first of all, she's got the children to explore the key features by just doing a matching job. So they'll be doing it first of all, and they'll be talking about it. Lots of oracy involved. And then they will label it in their books. Now, some of them have picture labels, which is, these have been made on widget, the resource I spoke about earlier. But some of them are able to actually write the words themselves, depending on their ability. And she just really is the main thing is of language act is the speed of learning, and she just breaks it really, breaks it down so the children have a real understanding. Something else she did, she discovered that lots of the children didn't know when their birthdays was. So one day of the week, she went off timetable and they all had a birthday party. She threw a birthday party for them, but then they had a fantastic time, lots of vocab, lots of oracy, and by the end of the session, they could all tell you when their birthday was. This was another story they focused on, the Only One You book. And again, she'll do lots of pictures first and oracy, and then they'll go on to their writing. So again, these vocab cards have been made on Widget. So our school does have a subscription for Widget, but it is fantastic. I would really recommend it. And then once those children have labelled it like that, identified the labels themselves, they can then go and write their sentences. So language acquisition is really powerful. We're really lucky to have it in Maindee, actually, and it does help the children make a lot of progress. The children at the start of the year are identified by class teachers to go into the language acquisition class, and with the agreement also of SLT, because there's only a small number of children from each year group that can go in, and often children may come out of it if we feel like there's not the need for it anymore, and if there's any new starters, they might come and join in. So Mrs. Farrett is continuously assessing, and just with the help of the class teachers as well, and just making sure work is pitched correctly for those children, and they do make lots and lots of progress. And because it is a smaller sort of group, smaller class, it really helps with their confidence and their well-being and things as well. So that is another really powerful thing that we do at Maindee. Something else we do really well in upper phase is we have a daily language carousel. So instead of like a morning job type thing, this is their morning job in the upper phase. So if you can see the timetable, the days of the week, they've got they're split into different groups. Sorry, again, this isn't like an intervention, but as a whole school, an upper phase approach, it is something that then might plug the gap for children to ensure that they then don't need an intervention because they're getting this hit in the morning. So it's just 15 minutes every morning. And so group 1 on a Monday, they might do the language of the month, which is set up by our young interpreters. So, excuse me, sorry, Mrs. Farrett again is in charge of the young interpreters. So we identify children in year 5 and year 6 who their home language, and they want to share it with the rest of the school, and they'll record a video of themselves, and then they go around to all of the classes and give them a little QR code, and then that's our language of the month that's up on the wall in every class. And children in Key Stage 2, as part of their morning job, 1 day a week, they'll explicitly practice that language of the month. So it is really important for us to like celebrate each of those like diversities and home languages and things. Again, it will go on to children will then have a practice of BSL, using the placemats that we've made in school. And they'll do, it's a good opportunity for Welsh reading and response, Welsh games, and they have a Welsh version of the BSL placemat as well. So that's just something that they found really effective in Key Stage 2 in the morning, because we do have the window of our doors open at 8:45 and then we shut the doors at 9, and the majority of children are here by 8:45, 8:50, and then they carry it on at just a little bit past 9 o'clock. So they've got 15 minutes of that immersive language there, and it works really well as a carousel. As I mentioned before, with the BSL, we have had a big focus on that the past 2 years, and these have been made by the teachers, but the videos are all of the children asking and answering questions that's then shared whole school. So it's sort of getting the experts in Key Stage 2 to help with the lower phase children, because my children then access this and can learn how to talk about their family, watching videos of maybe their cousins that they know in year 5. So this has been really, we've had lots of engagement with this, and children have really enjoyed our BSL approach, and this has helped with their language acquisition and their literacy skills as well. So there are a lot that we do. There is a lot that we do at Maindee, and I'm aware that we are lucky that we do have quite a lot of specialist teachers. So we do have teachers who have BSL qualifications and have been able to put these together. Mrs. Firat has been working in schools for years and years, and she herself is she won't mind me saying, she's built her confidence up with this. This is her first year of doing it, but she's absolutely fantastic running this class, and her home language is Turkish, so she understands what it is like to acquire a language in another country. So we are very lucky at Maindee, and I actually didn't realise how much we do before I started putting this together. So I don't know if there are any questions about any of the interventions or approaches that I've talked about. I am aware that I've rambled a lot, so I hope you have caught everything that I've said, and I am aware
There's
that
been no rambling. It's all been fantastic. No rambling at all.
I wondered if there was any questions or anything that anything I skipped over that I shouldn't have, or anything anybody wants to know more about. And was it useful at all?
What I would say is, well, if everybody's thinking, I'll make it, with your permission, I will share the slides with everybody, because there's some useful links on those. So I'll drop those out to you by email directly after the session, ladies that have joined. If you do have any questions, I'm sure.
I know I talk quite fast as well.
Well, you've got a lot to say.
Sorry.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, I don't know if there's anything. Yeah.
With regards to some feedback, can I ask, if you, while you are just perhaps reflecting on what you've seen and heard this afternoon, in the chat, which I hope you have access to, I've just dropped a link to the short evaluation form that we would encourage you to complete. I don't know, Emily, if you're able to click to the slide where the QR code, just in case people haven't got access to the chat, because it depends how they've joined the meeting. After a session as thorough and as good as that, I think it's entirely fair that we ask you to just take a moment to reflect on the session and to provide some feedback, particularly for the time, energy and expertise that Emily has shared this afternoon. It would be fantastic.
To be honest, I've just collated it. The experts are all in school. We are very lucky, and I think from an outsider's perspective, it can be easy to think, oh gosh, I don't know if we could do that in my school. But if there's any resources you want me to share, I'm happy for my email to be shared as well, Catherine. If I can help in any way, I've got a bank of resources as well that are sort of online or on Google Drive that I'm happy to share. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I will do that. I'll share your email address as well, Emily, with the slides, and then people can contact you directly.
I ask you, how big is your classes?
Sorry, say that again.
How big is the actual class? You know, when you're doing your interventions and things.
The language acquisition class.
Yeah.
The biggest class she has is 18. The year 5s, I think there's 18 in year 5, so that's across 3 classes. 18 children have been identified from 3 classes. I think the smallest is probably about 12.
So is there 18 in a class at the same time, or is that split over the year group?
Yeah, there'll be 18. So for example, she might do 9 till 9:45, she'll have year 3s, and there might be like 15 year 3s. Then they'll swap over 9:50 until 10:30, she'll have year 4s, and there'll be like 15 year 4s, and then they'll swap over and they'll be out of whole class. So that means class teachers, obviously, then their literacy books are taken over by Mrs. Firat, but she is involved with the class teachers. They do help with the workload of that, because you can imagine she has quite a lot of it's a lot on her, really, bless her.
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely. Thank you very much.
No, that's okay, and hopefully it was useful in some way.
It was very useful. Thank you.
Well,
Well, I think it just remains for me to thank you enormously. And you say
Oh,
that it's not
thank
you, but
you.
your expertise
Well,
comes
this is
through.
the
You
first time presenting. I don't know if you might have known for the talk, so I was a little bit nervous. So thank you so much for being so lovely. And
It's
hopefully it was
fantastic.
useful. Even if just one little part was of use, then that's
Oh,
good.
enormously, I'm sure. And thank you all very much for joining this afternoon. It's lovely to see you all. Have a lovely
Thank
weekend.
you.